Things have not been going too well for Chase Elliott over the last couple of races. He was hailed as being Mr. Consistent over this season so far, but a couple of bad races have put him a little bit off the lead of the championship, but not entirely his fault really, especially in the case of Kansas, the AdventHealth 400 that was on this last weekend, because it was a costly pit stop that cost him very dear indeed, and because of that, he ended up down in 15th rather than getting a top 5 or even going for the victory, which in truth, I think he would have done very, very well to actually overcome Kyle Larson, who looks absolutely unstoppable, but a second place, a third place really would have helped out his championship charge. And his race winless streak does indeed extend. It went to over a year recently, and it is still continuing. I think he's up in 4th place in the Cup Series standings, so he's still looking very good for a playoff spot, but he has to be absolutely sure of that. He still needs that victory to be sure of getting into the playoffs. And indeed, Elliott was showing good speed throughout the entire weekend. He qualified all the way up in 9th place, and he got up to 2nd place by the end of both Stage 1 and Stage 2. And a strong pit stop at the end of Stage 2 propelled him to the lead of the final stage restart. Now, of course, he did lose this lead eventually to Kyle Larson, but he put up a very good fight against both Larson and Brad Keselowski. Fair play to Brad Keselowski. We've got to talk about him very shortly. He was up in 3rd place before he had his puncture. A lot of guys getting punctured during this weekend, so very unlucky for him. I think William Byron got a puncture as well really early on in the race, but really sad to see Keselowski have that flat tyre after 195 laps completed. And it was Keselowski's flat tyre that ended hopes of a good race for Chase Elliott. And unfortunately, the Jackman, TJ Semke, he dropped the Jack a millisecond too early, and the consequences for that were massive. The rear right tyre was not changed and secured successfully, so unfortunately, it was not in a state to get out of the pits. Thankfully, this was realised very, very quickly, and the Jackman got underneath the car again, and they eventually changed the tyre, but this cost a crucial amount of time, sending him way back in the order as a result. He eventually got up to actually 12th, but eventually his tyres, of course, did wear out a little bit, so he was overtaken a few times and ended up in P15. Despite that, though, he can see the positives of having a really high running position. He, on average, was around 6th overall in the race, given a certain amount of time. If you go over the average positions of each of the drivers per lap, even with that late drop down the field, he was still 4th best overall behind Larson and a few other drivers. So I think overall a positive weekend for him, but it's, you know, the results don't lie, and that is what is going to be very much worrying him. But you know, these things happen. It's a long season. He'd rather get mistakes like that out of the way early on rather than in the playoffs. But yeah, he does need that victory to be sure of going through to the playoffs. But yeah, what do you think, guys? Do you think Chase Elliott is going to get that much needed win very soon? He does have kind of an air of Martin Truex Jr. from last season, coming close a few times but never quite getting that victory, still making it through to the playoffs, I hope, like Truex Jr. did 12 months ago as well. But yeah, we'll see you soon for some more content on the world of NASCAR just like this. Have a fantastic day wherever you are, guys. I know we had a great weekend watching the action in Kansas, and of course the All-Star race, baby, that's coming up this weekend, so we'll be covering that here on the channel, of course, too.